Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I want to discuss something that I've seen commented from time to time on my videos or on message boards in the Dragon Ball fandom. And that revolves around the fight between Goku and Frieza, specifically when Goku transformed into a Super Saiyan and Frieza went to his full 100% power. But the question is, were both these fighters really at full power during their final climactic fight on the vanishing planet of Namek, right before it was about to explode that 5-minute fight? Then the anime was more like 4 hours. So the question is, did they really have that full power that they were able to give off? Or perhaps were they a lot weaker than we initially thought, and the fatigue of their previous battle had caught up on them? So let me get into that right now as I pull up the manga and I get directly into that. Okay, so as we know, on Namek, Goku and Frieza had a very big battle between the two of them, to say the very least. This began when Goku, showing up in his base form after emerging from the healing chamber on Frieza's ship, funny enough, showed up to the battle to fight Frieza in his base or final form, depending upon which version you'd like to go with in terms of the name. And then the two of them had an epic battle, which showed off Goku fighting against the Emperor of the Universe, as we could see right here. Now, prior to this, Goku wasn't actually doing too bad, way better than everyone else had done, especially against this form of Frieza. You know, pretty much everyone before this didn't really stand much of a chance, but Goku, well, he was doing pretty good with his base power level of 3 million, as we've seen before, and I'll get into those power levels a little bit more in the future. Yes, power levels did matter. They're not BS like a certain show likes to say, but let's keep going in terms of that. As you could say, Goku not only was doing really well, but he also channeled his inner Mike Tyson and took a bite right out of his competitor. And he's done that from time to time too. And he even made Frieza use his fists when he only wanted to use his feet. So, he's pulling a Quentin Tarantino right then. Now, at this point, Frieza, well, he wasn't really going anywhere near his full power, to be honest. He was really just kind of toying with Goku because he didn't think he was worth that full power. But then, as he says, I estimate that if I use just about half of my maximum power, I'll be able to turn you into cosmic dust. Now, Goku initially thought, you're bluffing, that's BS. And then Frieza was like, well, it was fun while it lasted. He starts charging up, and at this point, we see that Goku is like, wait a second. He's not bluffing after all, as Frieza then goes to his 50% and starts just utterly wrecking Goku and, bloodying him up, putting him really down. And Goku at this point started to actually utilize power beyond his normal base power. As we discussed right here during the fight, Ten Shinhan likes to say, have you forgotten about the Kaioken? At his level of training, he should be able to multiply his power to a factor of 10. And then that's the point where the desperation kicks in, as King Kai says, he's already using the 10-fold Kaioken. And that's the case. Goku really didn't stand any chance against Frieza's 50%, even with his Kaioken times 10, because that would only bring Goku to a power of 30 million compared to Frieza's 60 million at his 50%. But with that being said, this kept going on until Goku eventually decided to rev this up even more, to where he could try a Kaioken times 20, but he didn't even know if his body could handle it. He was already taking a lot of damage, and his training up until this point before coming to the planet had allowed him to kick off power levels, or his Kaioken levels at least, to a maximum of 10 times. So going 20 times just to match up to Frieza's full power really goes to show you that that was something that he wasn't fully prepared for and definitely would go on to take its toll. As we could see right here, Goku was just wishing, praying basically, that Frieza was bluffing about that only being half his power. He revs up to 20, and then he fires his ultimate Kamehameha at Frieza, which really does nothing, as you could see right here. At this point, Goku is really kind of wrecked. His body is not in a good condition. However, he did have another trump card up his sleeve that would be able to deal significant damage to and potentially defeat Frieza, according to what Goku thought. And that's when he speeds up or charges up or gathers the energy, depending upon your terminology you'd like to use, for the ultimate Genki Dama, the spirit bomb that he gathered from different planets around the universe and was able to in turn chuck this right at Frieza. And Frieza's already pretty small, but this Genki Dama was gigantic, especially by comparison. Frieza, he tried to resist it, but he couldn't. It was way too powerful. He gets basically consumed into it, and it blows up, and it goes pretty much devastating damage to not only him, but also the planet itself. Who knows how big of a crater that was? Might have been a whole continent. But as Goku said, that Genki Dama, if he messed up, would have easily destroyed Namek, which I get the impression, just reading the manga and watching the anime, was already a pretty massive planet by comparison anyway. Who knows just how big it scales comparative to the Earth? I'm not sure if they ever really gave a answer to that in the guides, but considering just how long it takes to fly around this planet, how much, Frieza charged up a blast before firing it at the planet and still didn't immediately obliterate it because he held back too much, even though we saw in his first form he blew up planet Vegeta, which had 10 times the gravity of Earth. That goes to suggest that it might have been vastly larger than even planet Vegeta, and, maybe it's like a Jupiter-sized planet or something for all we know. But nonetheless, at this point, this leads into what we see with Frieza returning because he didn't actually survive, or he did actually survive that blast. But with that being said, take a look at Frieza right here. Just look how devastated he is. He can't even open his left eye. He is covered in scrapes, burns, bruises, blood dripping down from him. His tail is largely cut off, like at least a quarter of it. And, he's devastated right now. Like, even though he still has plenty of power within him, still way more powerful than Goku and friends, the fact of the matter is that he just is not in his peak condition right here at all. And of course, this is what leads into another iconic moment. When Frieza blasts Piccolo, he takes Krillin, he launches him into the sky and blows him up, which leads to Goku getting this raged out form, the iconic, legendary Super Saiyan. But again, Goku at this point too, well, what condition was he really in? He was basically out of energy when it came time for him to throw the spirit bomb at Frieza. Like, he was so wrecked, he couldn't even put up a fight. He had to have Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin kind of doing their best to stall him because he didn't have anything left in him. He was wrecked. And that really goes to show, just look how exhausted he is just trying to gather the energy so that he would be able to stand any chance against Frieza. Look at him right here. He's wrecked. Frieza was choking him. He was smacking him around. He was annihilating him at this point. He didn't stand any chance against Frieza. So even when he transforms into a Super Saiyan here, can he really muster up that full power that he is going to be having in this case? And the same thing goes for Frieza. As I just showed before, Frieza was pretty wrecked when he emerged from the water after he got hit by the spirit bomb point blank, So could he really tap into full power any more than Goku could? We go further, of course, later on when we see that Goku, as a Super Saiyan, he wrecked Frieza a little bit after he transformed too, was knocking him around, punching him, smacking him into things. So that's only going to cause Frieza to take even more damage, especially since he was, over twice as weak, less than 50% of Goku's full power, right? Even though Goku wasn't 100% going all out when he would punch or hit Frieza, unless, maybe he's insanely durable, kind of like Vegeta. Sometimes, that durability surpasses his output of power. But nonetheless, we see Frieza going full power. He's literally counting the different percentages as he's leveling up, I guess you could say, as he's powering up to his full bulked up state. But again, is this really the case? Is he truly reaching that 100% power right here that he goes on to utilize against Goku during their fight? Or is this state that he found himself in right here making it to where he was actually incapable of doing that? Of course, he went on to blast the planet. The two of them are fighting. But again, look at their condition. Look at the way that they are. Sure, Frieza's able to channel his power in the sense to where he can resist Goku's Kamehameha, even go right through him, knock him into the ground, and then do some significant damage. But nonetheless, again, the power question comes into question. Now, of course, there are some different kind of indicators we've gotten over the years in reference to their power. Like, for example, right here in the Daizenshu, we're given a power level reading or a power level indicator. So as I could show you right here, Goku, for example, when he arrived on planet Namek, had a power level of 90,000. As you can see right here, when he arrived in this little section right here to face Frieza, he had a power level of 3 million, 300, and then the 100 symbol. When Frieza had a power, oh, well, let me get into that momentarily, actually. Let me stay on track. When Goku went Super Saiyan, he had a power level of 150 million at his maximum power. Freiza here had a power level at 50% of 60 million, and at full power, 120 million. However, again, the question is that actually the power that these two were putting out in their fight at this point in time? I mean, is it even possible for them to do that, considering the fact that, well, they were so wrecked already before they even charged up their full power? So the question becomes, in terms of all of that, what does this power level here actually symbolize then, right? Does this power level that we see for Goku, 150 million, and this power level for Frieza, 120 million, symbolize the full power that they were capable of putting out in these battered bodies that they have right here? Or is it the full power that they would have been able to reach if they're not truly able to, if, for instance, they were actually at a weaker power level when they're fighting on Namek? So again, let's say, for instance, that if Goku's body was so wrecked and so on the verge of not being able to really even do anything before he went Super Saiyan, then maybe his power level was cut in half to 1.5 million, meaning that his power level would have been like 75 million right here. And Frieza, maybe he got so battered by the Spirit Bomb that he was only able to put out like, I don't know, 60 to 75 million instead. He was weaker than Goku, obviously. He barely was putting up that much of a significant fight by contrast. He definitely got some shots in when he hit him with this charged up move here. And then, of course, when he, got a couple shots in during their fight on the ground in this hand-to-hand combat moment. But nonetheless, I mean, it's entirely possible that that's the case. Or it's entirely possible that Goku and Frieza were actually a lot more powerful in a prime peak state on Namek than these power levels illustrate. Maybe Goku was actually more powerful when he became a Super Saiyan, if his body was in 100% condition, let's say healed by Dende or something, and not counting the Zenkais, than 150 million. And maybe Frieza's power level would have also been higher than 120 million in a perfectly pristine final form, like, before the fight began. Of course, that is a little contradictory because the fact that we do see Goku's power level when he shows up to the fight in perfect condition is 3 million. So that wouldn't really line up, especially because we also know that Goku is kind of matching Frieza with his 20 times Kaioken. So again, it's more likely, I suppose you could say, that their power levels were lower than the 150 million or 120 million, as opposed to being higher than what we see here in the Daizenshu. Now, with that being said, there is arguments against this. Like, for example, maybe Frieza was able to put out his 100% power on Namek. If I can get back to that here somewhere. I got a lot of manga here to go through. But as you can see right here, maybe Frieza was able to still put out the true 100% of his power, but was even more limited in terms of his stamina and how long he could stay in the form because of how battered he was. And that would be the same for perhaps Goku. Goku might have also gotten kind of like not just a transformation, but a rage boost to kind of make up for his lost power. Or maybe it was like the sheer adrenaline kicking in that kind of overrode the problem that Goku is facing before in terms of his Super Saiyan and his just base body kind of being so weak and really incapable of doing anything other than borrowing other people's energy with the Spirit Bomb. So that kind of raises that question too. Did Goku get a rage boost on top of Super Saiyan, or did Goku get like Super Saiyan plus an adrenaline rush that just allowed him to overcome that? And, also let's take into account the fight between Goku and Frieza didn't really last that long after Goku transformed into a Super Saiyan. only a little over 5 minutes. So really, when you think about that, maybe Goku was in a similar state to Frieza in that sense, to where both of them could only exert their full power for a very limited amount of time because their body's physical states. We do see later at the end of the fight between the two of them that Goku additionally also, he actually kind of powers down after he tells Frieza, I'm done fighting with you, there's no purpose in continuing to do that, and so on and so forth. So that also kind of raises that question then there. So there's a lot of kind of questions with regard to this. However, I do think logically the idea that neither of them was truly at their full power because the fact that their bodies were so wrecked at this point does make sense, because every other time we see somebody who's like totally wrecked and spent and broken in Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and so on, when are they truly able to put out their full power? It is a very unlikely situation because you need to kind of have everything totally together, at least when it comes to your stamina. Okay guys, so this has been the question of, were Goku and Frieza really at full power during their fight on Namek? Let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments section. You could check out some more of my videos up here and on the end screen that should be popping up soon. Thanks for watching. Make sure to let me know down below what you think. Stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future, and I'll see you all next time.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.